Today we are showing what can change in a year. So many folks enter this community and it feels like this tough to reach goal of becoming part of this community, coming to Summit that is happening this week. And today we have someone that has done it. He was here in Summit last year, just as a curious observer, and he's got a great story to tell us. Welcome, everybody, to your weekly edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, is the man that I affectionately like to call GC because he's got the genius concepts, knows how to generate cash flow, is a great co-host, and because his name is Greg Cohen. With us, as always, the week before Summit every year, who crashes the show without telling us we had no idea he was going to be here, the MVP, Mr. Lee Bishop. Say hello, Lee.
Hello, everybody.
Say hello, Greg.
Hello, everybody. Happy Summit Week. I can't wait to see you all.
And the star of the show this week, Dr. Gregory Roberts. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Nice to meet everyone. Nice to meet everyone. I am glad to be here.
We are pumped to have you here. I know that I don't know whose laugh and smile is going to win out.
I know.
I know he's full of smiles.
It's a happier dude.
All right. That being said, we to the man. That was a pretty full on Truman Show style commercial.
Yeah, I felt like that was like a nice end, and then we're like, all right, end scene.
Yeah. All right. Star of the show today. Sorry, Lee, it's not you.
No.
It is Dr. Greg Roberts out of Dodge City, Kansas, home of Wyatt Earp and Billy the Kid. He is an advisor there at Dodge City Community College. And Dr. Roberts, you showed up on our radar last year at Summit. Tell us how you ended up, what brought you to Summit last year?
Well, I appreciate the invitation that you have provided me from last Summit. And I had been listening to you say from July 2024. And then when February 2025 came around and I was learning about your summit that was getting ready to come up, I said, I want to go meet these guys in person. They seem to have a spirit similar to mine, wanting to assist others in learning about real estate. And so I said, I want to go meet those guys. And sure enough, I get there and I get to meet you too. How did that happen?
I don't know, but you made an impact, not just on Pablo and myself, but on everybody in the community, and our entire team got to know you very quickly.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And I got to meet several of your teammates while I was there. I'm certainly going to do a shout out to Miss Sam Mashburn. That lady, she has stuck with me the whole time in getting through these processes. And you just have a great team of people there. I'm just meeting Lee here. Lee is even giving me a chance to take a few minutes of his time. Thank you, Lee. And I'm looking forward to meeting you at the 26th Summit.
That's
so
right.
Great start on my journey. Great start on my journey.
Yeah, and Dr. Roberts, if I'm not mistaken, you were telling us your real estate journey started a little bit prior, but you were kind of at a roadblock with your journey, right? Can you tell us how you got, first, the reasons that you got into real estate? You know what? Let's start with your why. I think you've got the most compelling why of, one of the most compelling whys of anybody that we know. You want to kind of tell us big picture why you're in real estate?
Thank you for the question, Pablo. My why is I'm one of those people, because I'm an advisor in my field of study and field of work, I like to advise students on their journey. And I particularly serve low income and first generation college students and assisting them along their journey. So usually students don't feel like they can make the journey. So to share my story with them, to say, hey, I came out of poverty myself. I came from Compton, California, believe it or not. That journey, what? You came from where? And you where at right now? You're a doctor? Those are some things that they hear that sometimes are hard to believe. You mean you came out of Compton and now you're trying to tell me you're a doctor and now you're into real estate along the way. So that's my why, is to help other folks to understand no matter what journey they're on, they too can find a path through real estate as well, especially if they find a JWB team.
Man. I tell you what, that warms my heart. It gives me chills and warms my heart at the same
Yeah, I
time.
was
If
gonna
that's
say.
possible, I don't even know if that's possible. That's just what happened. And that's the exact feeling that I had when we sat down a year ago. And I thought there was something really special about our conversation. And to understand that why, and for us to be a part of that why, is the reason why people at JWB love coming to work. It's because we're a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. We're a part of something that's bigger than just a turnkey rental property. We're a part of changing the lives of you, who changes the lives of so many people that you impact. So thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of that.
And thank you for being out there and providing your Tuesday for my time zone, 11:30 podcast that I get to see, podcast slash webinars. And I like that you give us an opportunity to ask questions. I look at when I left 2025 and actually had a question for you. I was surprised that y'all even remembered me because that
Yeah.
question had to do with how to work with home equity lines of credit, right?
Mm.
And that too has been a part of your podcast webinar too. And so
Mhm.
in my mind, ooh, these folks, they just have so much. JWB just have so much information and so much resources, and they're attempting to get that information out there to others like myself who are interested in this field of real estate investing. And I believe there's also lots of other people out there as well, right? And and I have done real estate investing. I'm going to say, so let me share with you where I started. 2017, bought my first townhouse. 2018, the mortgage company called and said, hey, we're ready to make another mortgage because I was paying double payments on my. So they said, you're paying down this mortgage loan too fast. Let's get you another one. So sure enough, I get another one. And therefore I had to turn my townhouse into a rental. So I had to go through a couple of rental people before I felt like I could find someone who took me out of the mix. And so did find someone. They gave me my statement each year so I could take my statement to my tax person. But as I'm working with, and Greg, you always said, make sure you get those people on your team, someone legal, someone taxes, someone
Yeah.
coaches. And so you said, get yourself a team. And so all of that was useful to me. And now I'm on this journey where I am continuing to learn, and your podcast, Not Your Average Investor, certainly sparked a niche with me. And I said, these folks are doing it right because I've had these other experiences where they're just doing part of it. They're just doing part of it. But you folks do so much more than others. All of us should want to be on your team.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That journey's not easy. And, you started it. First of all, you were open to learning, which I find that most people in this world are not, right? You're open. It just like oozes out of you. You are constantly in search of education. So a lot of it's you, right? Let's put the glory really where it should be on you there.
And thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You started in 2017 and you got to a couple of your second property. I think it's really cool to learn about the obstacles that you encountered and then how you overcame them. So you were telling me a little bit about the obstacles that you found as far as the lending side. Could you tell us maybe one of the obstacles that you had as you got that second property?
So when I got the second property, because it was from the same lending institution, it seemed like that process went fairly smoothly. But then I relocated to Dodge City and then was trying to get myself a place here in Dodge City my second year. So I came here first year, got me just a rental, and then moved on to say, I already know a little bit about real estate that I should be not having renting myself, I should be having a mortgage.
Mhm.
And so I attempted to get mortgage payment here, and the traditional system just was not working for me. And I mean, I just tried a lot of different names. I'm sure if I was to mention them to you, you would be familiar with those names. and it was just not working for me. And then that was in 2025, and I said, well, I've been to JWB now, your summit, met you, met your team, met a group of people there that, okay, they are making their way through this not your average investor process show, and they're finding some ways. So I believe if I continue to watch this show, I can learn some things too that will be helpful to me as well. And so I just kept my journey to kept researching and researching, even though I kept running into some hurdles or some barriers. And and but I'm listening to folks that say there's other ways to do it. There's other ways to do it. And and I said, well, JWB invited me. I'm going to try their system. And so sure enough, when 2025 came around to 2026 and my tenant did not renew, then I was able to free up that rental unit. And I freed up that rental unit by putting it on the market from August to when it sold. And it sold in December 2022. And then I started seeing the proceeds going into the IPX 1031 exchange. And then I started, then just additional coaches, I will call them, additional mentors, I would call them, starting first with Miss Sam Mashburn, who kept me on this journey, who then in turn put me in contact with Raven, who then also as a team between Raven and Sam, put me in contact with the 1031 exchange people who taught me the process of what they need to do. And all of this was done through, I didn't have to do it in person. I'm like, wow, all of this is done through electronic signatures and digital signatures. Get me through this process and then put me with the lenders that are supported and I believe backed by JWB. And these lenders just work so personably, like Sam and like Raven, that I just felt like I had a supportive process throughout my entire journey from selling my townhouse in Salt Lake to gaining 2 properties with JWB, where we're closing this week. And for this whole journey, I want to say the team of people that you have had coaching me through this process have just been wonderful every step of the way. You couldn't expect any kind of guidance throughout an entire process from start to finish. And Greg, Pablo, Lee, your team is wonderful. I'm just gonna say your team is wonderful.
Man, Dr. Roberts gave out a lot of kind of like gold there to dig into, right? So if I'm gonna retell a little bit, I would like to start first on what you were saying before the show. You say that I say the word turnkey a lot, and that was a new term to you, right? The idea that there is, and we talk about turnkey almost taking for granted that people know that turnkey exists, right? And we go into like what's fake turnkey and what's real turnkey and all this other marketing stuff. But just very simply said, I really echo with Dr. Roberts's journey here in the sense that whether it's because you've reached a certain level of like obstacles or you're someone like me that sees this like very complex transaction of buying real estate, having somebody live in it, understanding what it means for your life and right sizing it for you for the amount of time. The idea that there is a JWB out there that is able to like simplify that process for someone and be a one-stop shop for it is something that's made it possible for me to be able to become a real estate investor. And it sounds like it also for Dr. Roberts to continue to grow his portfolio and so many of us like that, GC. So it's like, I would love for you to kind of parse out in the different things that he talked about. What were the things that made this a turnkey experience that he was just talking about?
Yeah, it's always really nice to talk to clients that have done something outside of JWB in real estate
Yeah.
to be able to kind of highlight what the JWB experience is that, I think even we on the show sort of take for granted, right? Sometimes we get a little bit in the weeds and a little technical here, but at the end of the day, it usually takes people years to go from the idea and the conviction to own a rental property to actually having that rental property owned and then producing income. And, Gregg went down that path, and I'm sure it took a number of years to get there. And excuse me, Dr. Roberts, thank you, Lee. Lee's keeping us all in check here.
Not to be mixed up with the real Greg.
Lee's keeping
The
us all in check.
JWB Greg.
Anybody thinking we're talking about yourself?
Exactly, right? So Dr. Roberts went down that path, and it took a number of years. What JWB in essence is able to do is to condense that timeline to really a few phone calls.
Exactly.
And that's really precious because we're all busy, we're all stressed, we all have lives that require our attention in other places, and it's really hard to coordinate a number of teammates to work together on a mission if you're doing it yourself, right? If you're only one person, right? So you can kind of tap into the network here.
And the experience of your team is to be able to talk not above anybody, but down to where they can understand it and figure out what they need to understand it.
Because we love to
I
serve.
know, right? But I mean, that's one of the value adds that you guys have is that you've seen it, been there, done it. A lot of the guys have lived it, or a lot of the women have lived it, on your team, and so they understand what the obstacles were and what the hurdles are that Dr. Roberts had to overcome.
100%. It comes from a love of serving the everyday investor.
Exactly.
We're not here to serve the institutions, right? We're here to serve you. We're here to serve you. We're here to serve Dr. Roberts, right? So, some of the things that just jumped out to me as I'm sort of parsing out what a turnkey experience is, buying the home, of course, but there's the lending piece. The lending piece is really challenging. I think the lending piece was one of the challenges that actually made you search for a different way of doing things, if I remember correctly, Dr. Roberts, right?
Yeah.
Something as simple, and this might apply to many of you out there. Many of you who own rental properties will ask us, hey, you know what? I already own 3 rental properties. Is it even possible for me to qualify for another mortgage? And if you go out into the normal lending world, what you will hear is that, no, it's not possible. In the JWB network of approved lenders, it is possible where it's not possible outside for something as simple as this. The lenders in JWB's network are able to take the rental income from your other properties, and that offsets the debt cost, which is kind of getting technical here, but otherwise, if you're outside of the JWB network, they don't give you credit for the rents that come in on the other properties. So then they're telling you that you can't get that next mortgage, where this is how Lee owns multiple properties. Pablo owns multiple properties. Every time you own a property with JWB, it actually gets a little bit easier to own the next one. So there's the lending piece. There's the closing piece. Working with Raven on our team to help you get to the closing table is hard to do if you're just one person. And then sprinkle in the advanced strategy of the 1031 exchange.
Yeah, we're going to double tap
right,
that.
which we got to get into. I mean, that is a truly turnkey experience. And it's only really possible, JWB is built to make that experience possible, but it's really possible when you have somebody like Dr. Roberts or like Lee here, who invest in the 2 things that are the most important. They invest in their relationships and they invest in their education. And Dr. Roberts took it upon himself to come to Summit to build that relationship with us and with Sam and our entire team. And he's sitting here now, less than a year later, owning 2 rental properties with JWB.
I applaud that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so, and certainly I'd like to cover some of those steps that you mentioned, Greg, about I had went through at least, I'm going to say 5 to 6 is not an exaggeration of trying to get another place built here in Dodge City. And when I look at that journey, why was that so difficult? I didn't understand their perspective when I'm telling them, y'all should keep my income separate from my business, because one of the strategies I also learned through JWB is have an LLC to help you to separate that. But the traditional system was not allowing me to separate the 2. The traditional system kept putting them together which was not allowing me to move forward. And so your team then, okay, here are some resources. So once I sold my townhouse in Salt Lake, and that process continued with the guidance of Miss Sam. Miss Sam also taught me to let the process work for you. And that was excellent, right? Because I'm not just working with Sam at this point, I'm working with a process of this 1031 exchange where the realtor who sold the property is working with the exchange people who's working with Sam. That process are things I would not have understood for myself, right? I would not have understood that. But these processes that are in place are continuing the way they should continue to help me be successful in this process. And I will always appreciate JWB for that, because in my career, that's what I do, is I help people to figure out how to bridge the gaps and what pieces of those steps that they are missing along that process. JWB does that for you. You can come into the system. They will talk you through every step of the way that you need to be familiar with. So once I finished with the 1031 processes and steps within the process, then the connection to, so what, the process receives your funds from my previous rental. The process manages those funds until it gets to the properties that I'm buying through JWB. Then JWB is continuing to work with me step by step by step, that this is where we are now in that process. Who tells you that, right? Where am I in the process? The traditional systems, I never know if I'm going to be successful. I never know if I'm not going to be successful. But the JWB process just allowed me to be moving along, and all I'm doing is feeling comfortable that the right people are making up my team along the way. Great team with JWB. I can't say that too many times. I can say it more times than needs to be said, but a team is in place to help you throughout a 1031 exchange. I was going to say first, a process I've never heard of until meeting JWB. And now that I know that process and how that step worked, then I know I have some folks on the closing end of the property with JWB and with the finance company that they have me working with, who are closing this step for me and have put me in that position to have a couple more properties that the traditional system would not allow me to have. What better guidance to have, and a team of people to just help you along the way and make things possible that the average person is going to say, nah, that's not possible. I can say I'm living proof. I'm living proof of that. I can't wait till the next journey. I've already told Lee, I'm going to meet you at the conference.
Well, that's a journey all into itself, my friend.
Right?
Yeah.
Big
Interested to meet sometime. I'm going to meet you at that conference. I'm going to get some more ideas from him as a coach.
Oh, yeah, that's coming. That's coming. So speaking of some of the stuff that you said, right? Like I love the, advisors need advisors.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
even advisors need advisors, right?
Right.
And I just wanted to kind of like double click into the 1031 thing, right? Because like Dr. Roberts said, he had never really heard of what it was. And I think it's also interesting for anybody that hasn't heard what it is. Lee, can you explain don't give me the mechanics, but what is a 1031 exchange? How do you understand it?
It's a way to avoid paying Uncle Sam money that you gain on selling a house to buy another one. So
Yeah.
you could put that extra money toward buying the new house.
Yeah. So you buy $100,000 house.
10,000 foot, right?
Yeah, good stuff. So you buy $100,000 house. Let's say 20 years later, it appreciates to $300,000. When you go to sell it, you can take that growth, the capital gains in the house, the extra 200K that went from 100 to 300, and you can use that 200 to buy another piece of to make another investment, right? Like, so buying real estate is a perfect example of that. And Dr. Roberts didn't have to pay any tax on that. So it's the difference between taking that 200K and buying 200K worth more of real estate, or buying another 100K worth of real estate. And the other piece of it, I'm sure that you can correct that. You see, I'm not the detailed guy.
Good enough.
But the other piece of it is that 1031 exchange has a whole bunch of like technical milestones that you need to hit, that if you don't hit, then you're out the tax bill. We've heard of these things, right? Milady Jag Chatta went through one of these. So kind of like, can you give just a little bit of the different kind of like nuances of the 1031 that you really need to keep track of?
Yeah, it is one of these things.
And correct my math as well.
Oh, the math doesn't matter. We're helping people see the vision here. It is using all of the dollars that you earn towards your next investment instead of paying Uncle Sam. Now you defer those taxes until later, and maybe you never pay them if you keep doing 1031 exchanges. So you both nailed it. But it is one of those things that you have to have a team surrounding you that has done this thousands of times, because if you screw one thing up, you don't get all these beautiful tax advantages. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's two timelines that are the most critical to know. 45 days to identify your next property from the date that you close on the property that you sold. So you have 45 days to identify. You don't have 46. And you have to identify the properties in 45 days. And you have to close the transaction on the new properties that you buy within 180 days. So if we just talked about how it takes typically years for people to go and actually buy rental properties, well, typically the average way of investing doesn't give you the time to do a 1031 exchange. But again, when you work with a team that has done this thousands of times, where the left hand is coordinated with the right hand, and JWB is working with the lender, who is also working with the 1031 exchange intermediary, these things become possible. And Gregg's story is proof of that.
Excellent. Excellent. And
Dr. Roberts.
And Dr. Roberts. And we have a question from, I think it's Nadeem. So you went from 1 to 2. So like you basically just like doubled properties and then moved that part of your portfolio down to Jacksonville to be taken care of by JWB.
Yes, I went from a townhouse in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm still trying to learn some of these real estate terms, right, in the process, where the amount of what I sold the property for and then paid off the mortgage to that place, then the amount that I have left, I guess most people, in real estate, they call it commission, but for a real estate owner, what is the technical phrase? You just said it, Pablo. You just said it.
Capital gains, is that
Thank
what
you. The capital.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I'm still learning phrases. I'm still learning terms in this real estate business. It's like I don't have to know it all. Capital gains goes through the 1031 exchange process, right? Yep. And then those coaches, representatives, are managing your fund, because like Gregg is saying, you don't want to be taxed on those funds as the investor who had the renter. I don't want to be taxed on those funds, and those funds are just going through a process. Thank you for sharing with us what the exact words as capital gain. I should be able to remember that from here forward.
You're going to have a lot of capital gains.
I mean, just simple terminology, right? Yeah. It's simple for those who are in real estate, but for those of us that are still learning,
yeah. Listen.
For me, it's just what's the extra?
Yeah. Leslie Wilson, the maven from the mountains, is saying it correctly. It's like a foreign language at first, right? Like we kind of, and that's the purpose of showing up to the Not Your Average Investor Show, listening it on the podcast, however you get it, it's just kind of like that repetition of language that has taught us all the vernacular of real estate.
Right,
So I'll
right.
just use the word
And the
vernacular.
other piece I want to say about that is, and not only did I not need to know when that 45 days was going to happen, the team kept track of that for me and made sure that I'm meeting all of these milestones, these different step by steps in the process. And I'm just here going for the ride. Going on
Yeah,
the journey.
Dr. Roberts, it's like investing in free information, isn't
Right, right. Free information,
it?
right? That's working for you.
Right.
That's working for you. And it's hard to believe if you're not experiencing it yourself. It just has your growth system and your knowledge base just climbs from one level. It's like you always say, Greg and Pablo, I hardly know what it was before that, that period, right? I hardly know what that was.
Dr. Roberts, I love this cycle of going from being the student to being the advisor. You know, I think you're a great representation of that cycle. I would love to understand how the conversations go with those who you're advising, right? How are you able to make it something that, you know, it's really hard to understand, but you've had the benefit of being a part of the show for about 2 years. So, you know, you know enough to be dangerous. How do you reach somebody? How do you reach somebody who hasn't had the opportunity to be a part of the show and show them the power of what you're doing?
You know, when I'm talking to friends and family, colleagues at work, I can see the expressions on their face that lets me know if I too am beginning to use phrases and words that are not there for them just yet. Okay,
Right.
let me remember where I was at that time, so I can use some phrases that helps my friends, families, work colleagues to help them understand where I'm at now based on where I was. So it's just trying to use phrases that they might be familiar with. And you could come up with a lot of I'm smiling, I'm laughing through all of this because you do have to use a lot of analogies,
You
right?
know,
A
I can
lot
relate.
of analogies, right? Pizza analogy.
Yeah. You know what I used to call investing with my kids, especially when they were younger? I used to call it being a magician. You know, you give daddy some money. First of all, you find a good person that you trust. You give that person some money and, you know, they believe in something that you believe in, and then magically they give you more back. And it was a magic trick, right? You know, you're just trying to meet people where they are.
You got to meet them where they are, right? And that's what I like about JWB. I believe your podcast and your webinars do meet people where they are. Pablo, you ask, you're really great at asking those questions, just like it's coming from those of us in the public viewing this. I said, how did that man know that's what I was thinking?
He is there.
Because
Right,
the Roberts I learned through this show, right? Like,
right.
you know, Greg and I talk about it all the time. It's I have this like terminology for it. It's the role of the noble fool, right? Like that archetype of the the kid and the emperor wears no clothes. That's like, but wait a minute, he's naked. Is a valuable person in society because while everybody is sitting there trying to like go along with a thing, asking the question that everybody's thinking is like a super valuable part. And honestly, it just came natural to me the first 2, 3 years because like you, my first 2 years, I came from knowing close to nothing to like meeting guys like Lee, running in the mornings with Greg, right? Like being part of the community and learning more and more. Eventually, they made me read Rich Dad Poor Dad, stuff like that, right? So
But in the
yeah,
beginning, you were asking questions like, help a brother why he doesn't know what, you know.
I
Then
still say that.
Yeah.
I'll still say asking for a friend,
Yeah,
right?
asking.
Like yeah,
Yeah.
asking for a friend. But yeah, you're right. Thank you, Dr. Roberts. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna finish this section about
Yeah.
taking people where they are. It is so very important. It is the same concept that we use in education and advising is we're trying not to be a cookie cutter, as they say, right? You're taking people where they are. And that's what I like about your interview style, Pablo, with Greg, is, boy, you're just taking people where they are. And if people are at the advanced levels of words to use and concepts to use, you're taking a step back for those of us who are not there. That helps us to understand. So thank you, Pablo, too. And
You think we
Greg,
should keep him around, Dr. Roberts?
huh?
You think we should keep him around, Dr.
I
Roberts?
think you should keep him
I
around.
guess we'll keep him
right?
around.
Well, Dr. Roberts, since you have complimented me so much as an interviewer,
And
I
Greg,
would like,
you should stay around.
yeah. I'd like to continue where you are, right? So you've gone from somebody that had a rental property in a townhouse in Utah, and is it your home in Dodge City, to now having, like, you now have a portfolio, right? Like, I would love to hear exactly kind of like where you are now on your real estate journey, and now that you're here, what are your goals, right? Like, I assume that you are living your why, right? Like, you are obviously inspiring these students and being the representation that they need, of like seeing themselves in you. Where do you want to take this, right? Like, where are you going moving forward with this stuff? What's the plan?
Thank you for that question, Pablo. I'm one of those type of persons that believe education in the different forms that it comes to us. I believe if some of us do have that skill and experience, like Greg Cohen and Pablo Gonzalez, Lee, who I'm just meeting, Lee Bishop, when you have those kinds of experiences, and I believe I will be that type of person too, I will try to share what I know with others and help others along that journey. So when I look at my future, that's how I see my future, right? Is two things: to certainly see how far I can grow my own portfolio so that I'm able to leave my family with a start that they have not had before. Hopefully, some of my friends will start moving into this area too, where they can start gaining some knowledge and understanding and have some coaching along the way by viewing your podcasts and your webinars to help them on their journey as to where they are. So I hope to be a part of that too, is to understand what I can understand to increase where I'm at, and to also try to help others to see that there's a bigger future out there for them if they team up with the right resources. And the JWB webinar is a great resource for us to get started at.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you are going to continue to, as you grow, are you gonna start a content stream? Are you gonna start a podcast, Dr. Roberts, and
No,
start
no, no,
interviewing
no,
people
no.
about this?
If anything, Pablo, I might just join you. Right?
Okay.
All right, I like
I
that.
might just join you.
You're going to be welcome to be coming
I
back here
love
and
your
continue.
personality.
Yeah.
I
I
love
do
your
like that.
interaction with your host. I might just say, hey, you need a backup, just once a year.
Deal.
There you
Twice
go.
a year. Give you a vacation time.
We should start a guest host program.
Yeah.
No?
100%.
All right, Dr.
All
Roberts is
right.
in.
You careful what you wish for.
Although I think he wants,
No,
Lee flew down here to be the guest host. So.
Bashful.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But I'll have to know a lot more than I know now, right?
No. Notice.
Lesson
Notice.
learned.
Look how far I've come, knowing nothing, sir.
I love your tables, your charts, your PowerPoint presentation that shows us,
And Greg's formulas.
great formulas that shows us how things look in paper, so we can also visualize it for ourselves, right? I can actually read that, right? Greg brings up, I can actually read that. I'm just confounded that I understand some of the things that you present to the public, Greg. And again, the questions that Pablo asked, to bring it down to, are we reaching the people who need to hear this? Are we reaching the people who need to hear this? One of the things that when I look back on the 25 Summit and I got to hear it for myself, I love the tour portion that you gave us, and you say that from time to time as well, Greg. You too, in your own organization, is trying to help others to have a home. They might start off as a renter with you, but it puts them in a position to own a home as well. I have not heard that concept anywhere else. So that's another part of your concept that certainly grabs me by my spirit, because that's how I feel about education. I am just trying to help the person to get to that next level for their life. Now, okay, JWB is trying to help others to get from being a renter to owning their own home someday.
Yeah.
And I like that program that y'all have where y'all give that opportunity to others. I think it's once a year or so that you allow that to happen. So,
Well, actually, we're going to be talking about that at Summit. This is like the perfect lead into something that I think is going to be, maybe JWB's greatest legacy as we look back, 20 years from now. It's our JWB Home Step Program. And what we've done, Dr. Roberts, is we really looked at it, and it was once a year where we raised charitable donations, and we built a home and we gave that home to a deserving member of our community. But then as we started to do that, we were 6 years into it and 6 homes donated and just this wonderful, wonderful program. We said, you know what? How can we scale this? How can we make a bigger impact? And so the Home Step program is actually something that was announced last year. And that's the program where every JWB resident, every renter of JWB has the opportunity to take part in the Home Step program. And that's where JWB gives $100 a month to our renter to become a homeowner. Put aside in an account up to $3,600 gets set aside, and that goes towards their down payment and their closing costs. We're the only property management company in Northeast Florida, and maybe the only property management company in the country who actually pays their renters for the hope of them to become a homeowner. Because what we know, and we in this community know this, by owning real estate, it is the most accessible way to chart a path to financial stability and eventually financial freedom. You don't have to have a certain level of education. You don't have to be an accredited investor. You don't have to have a certain amount of income or a certain amount of money to be able to do it. But when you do it, your net worth grows substantially. The average net worth of a homeowner in this country is $400,000. The average net worth of a renter is $8,000. So the thing that we could do to help our neighbors the most would be to simply put out a hand and help them become a homeowner themselves. So, and then, JWB as a property management company, we view ourselves as the threshold or the doorstep to home ownership. And so, Dr. Roberts, thank you for noticing that. It means so much to us. I can't wait to share more about it at Summit, actually. It's going to be a little bit a part of our keynote. So.
I'm going to spill a little bit of the juice. JWB went from like yearly handing out one house, then 2 houses, right? And you've given to veterans and whatnot. You had given out like 8 total homes under the charitable program before, as it was before, doing a yearly thing. And now year 1 of this Home Step program is how many homeowners did you create?
18 new homeowners last year from JWB renters.
Yeah, 18 new homeowners, right? So we went from like 8 in 5 years to 18 in 1 year. And as we know, everything that you guys do is a flywheel. It compounds. I'm super pumped to see where this goes in 15 years. Now, I want to land this plane. We are all veterans here of the Not Your Average Investor Summit, right? I think we do a lightning round. Final piece of advice, people coming to Summit. Dr. Roberts, I'm going to let you go last, right? Because I think everybody wants to know your secret sauce because you came last year and you've had this great journey. I'll go first to give everybody an advantage here and go around to get the most out of Summit, right? To leave Summit feeling like, man, I'm ready to do something or, to get the most out of this thing. You've been here a bunch of times. You're familiar with Summit.
1 or 2 times.
I'm going to say this. I feel like there's very few times that we we've done the planning show for JWB, right? Like so many of us really got to fight for scraps of time to really sit down, disconnect, take inventory of kind of what are my new beliefs that I've learned? what are old beliefs that I need to update, and where am I right now? Like I think that's what I'm using Summit for this year. Just taking like it's my 3-day real estate master plan planning session inside my head of how I'm going to like approach the next 10, 15 years of real estate investing, and update my hardware and my software, and go into it with like a new program. That's my advice for people to like take that as this moment. Lee, what's your advice for people?
Oh my God.
No pressure.
No pressure. Exactly. No, I like to take the time, and I've been to one or two in the past. So I like to take the time to get to know people and find out what their journey is. And I love that because the more information I can share with people about what my journey was might give them incentive to do something with their journey to make it a little bit different or something. And they might have ideas that I don't have. So I'm, like I said, every week I'm learning something new on this show, and I expect to get a lot more information from the summit. So that's what I'm looking.
Yeah, the collective
Sharing it with
knowledge,
people that I love.
the collective knowledge
Right?
in that
I
room
love
is,
this group.
yeah,
And I love the JWB people. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
They take their time
yeah.
to meet us.
Yeah,
You know,
the
I love
collective
it.
knowledge in that room should
Yeah.
not be underestimated. Go ahead, GC.
I think this is a really special moment to take a deep breath. I loved how you were looking introspectively. What is your goal? What is your why? Where are you in your portfolio? I'm going to take it a little bit kind of more of a macro sense. I really think 2026 is such an inflection point for investors, specifically in Jacksonville, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I'm hoping to share when we do our keynote. And as you all see the beautiful tapestry of what's going on in downtown Jacksonville right now, there are moments where if you see what is happening, you can take so many steps forward towards your goal. And I think 2026, and specifically this weekend, is a time where that will reveal itself to a lot of folks, especially our veterans who have been coming for years and years and years. And we have been saying this was about to happen.
Right.
It is undeniable
Get
now.
to see
So
it, right.
we have to take a deep breath and connect the dots for what this inflection point means and how you can take advantage of it.
Good stuff, GC. How about you, Dr. Roberts? What's your number one piece of advice for people coming to Summit?
My number one piece of advice is going to be very similar to Lee's, and that is don't be an introvert. Get to know people, because my first year there in 2025, so many folks that I met was offering me those strategies that Lee was talking about. If you're not going to be there to learn these strategies, you're shooting yourself in the foot. There are people who are going to share. I met so many people that gave me these additional strategies, and I wasn't even at those levels yet, but people were willing to share. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? I'm so looking forward to meeting Lee so he can show me some other strategies and pathways to go down.
I love
yes, I'm looking forward to seeing Pablo and Gregg again.
They're also here.
We're looking forward to seeing you too, Dr. Roberts. Thanks for
And the
doing
rest
this.
of your team, right?
Yeah, just listen, behind the scenes, we caught whiff of like your journey over the last year, probably about like 3 weeks ago. And we've been super pumped to share this with everybody, right? Like this is the type of impact that we hope to have by having started this whole effort, right? Like to create this customer journey, that's what marketers call it, but this like ability to people to go from this transformation from like a outsider with a problem to like a curious researcher to somebody that that feels connected to like to a community, to somebody that comes to see it, to that can then have that breakthrough and then takes massive action to come over it based on all these resources at hand. You are the perfect example of this, and you, sir, are not average, for the record. And really excited to have you in this community, man. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for this opportunity to share my experience with everyone.
For sure.
Dr. Roberts, this right here is the reason we got into business 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And, whenever we get to hear a story like yours, it takes me back to 20 years ago. And what I used to say is, man, I just wish that that somebody would believe in this, somebody would believe in me so that I could help somebody.
Your mission, right?
And when I am hearing your story, that's the greatest gift that you've given us. You believe in this mission, you believe in us, and we're able to help you. So thank you for your trust.
Can't wait to see everybody at Summit. We just had the lightning round of pieces of advice. Any final pieces of advice until we see each other at Summit? 1, 2, 3.
Don't be
average.
See you, everybody.